Hi, I'm Antonio Sala, and in this video we are going to end the case study of the proportional integral control of a first-order unstable system, which was a very coarse model of the biomass expansion exponential growth inside a bioreactor. In previous videos we discussed modeling, proportional control, and proportional integral control with full theoretical detail, let's say. In here, we will discuss how to assess the performance of the control loop with the root-locus technique. In fact, this closed loop was second order. The process was first order, the controller was first order because of the integral action, and so the theory behind this allowed us to compute everything because the only thing we needed to carry out was the roots of a second degree polynomial. So this root-locus video is completely optional and unnecessary maybe in order to discuss this control loop, but it will help us understanding what to do when things are more complex and we do not have a closed formula for the poles. So it's worthwhile to have a look at it. If we recall our early theoretical developments, this was the open loop model in time domain, this was the open loop model in Laplace domain, transfer function was 1 over s minus 0.4, and then closed loop was formed by an error-based controller in which the error is passed by a dynamic system, k of s, giving the u of s stuff, the error being set point minus measured value of my control variable, which in this case was equal to the state variable x. A proportional integral controller has this expression in red here, but for convenience we will factorize it as this thing. This is s over s, so we carry out operations because this expression, which is equivalent to the red one, will come in handy later on. In other videos, we obtained the closed loop equations for output and error. Denominator is the same everywhere, so the characteristic equation is denominator is equal to 0, 1 plus gk equals 0, but as g and k have numerators and denominators, we must remove denominators, so this thing will actually be written as this characteristic equation in polynomial form. The roots of this polynomial are the closed loop poles, but well, if we get it in fraction form, well, it's two ways of writing roughly the same, okay? So in this particular case, we obtained the error from set points and input disturbances, and multiplying by ss minus 0.4 characteristic equation, this was g, this was k, and characteristic equation ended up being this thing, which suitably grouping terms as a polynomial in S has this expression, and the roots of this second degree equation, degree 2 polynomial, are these ones which were analyzed in depth in previous videos and whatever, because we have a closed formula for the roots, the closed loop poles. So what is the root-locus technique? Well, it's a technique that plots these poles as the parameters change, and in particular, at least in its easiest form, as kc changes. But as I said, we need no root-locus methodology because we have a closed formula, so we can give values and compute the poles at will. I mean, with these poles, if the constants were fixed, we carried out the so-called analysis problem, determining stability, settling time, oscillation frequency, etc. And in fact, we also carried out the so-called pole assignment or pole placement methodology, because as I have two constants, then I can equate this denominator to whatever desired polynomial I wish. So if I wish poles in -3 and -5, then with this coefficient 8, I solve for kc, and once I solve for kc, I solve for ki to equate to the second coefficient. So we have, let's say, total controllability. We can assign the closed loop poles whenever we want, and that's what we did in our previous video. But the issue is that if we don't have total controllability, or we are discussing on how to do things in a third, fourth order control loop, then root-locus might help us. Root-locus is a graphical representation of this formula as kc changes. So let's have a look at the documentation in MATLAB. Here we have it, root-locus sys. And what is sys? Sys is a transfer function with a numerator and denominator, so it will solve these equations for different values of k. I mean, MATLAB will give value of k 3.29 and then compute the roots of this polynomial and plot them on screen. In our control context, we are discussing 1 plus gk equals 0, and then we will express our controller k of s as my kc global gain times my unit gain, I call it k1 of s, which will be this thing. So my characteristic equation will be 1 plus g k1 times kc equals 0. Then this is what we need to put in sys to plot the closed loop poles as the overall controller gain changes. So let's try it in MATLAB. This was g. K1 would be this thing. For instance, I am simulating, let me simulate ki equal 0.7, let's say. So this will be k1, and then of course the actual controller will be this multiplied by kc, but the root-locus command must be executed with this g times k1, and we get this picture that we are about to explain. First, recall that we are dealing with the characteristic equation like this one, so cleaning up denominators, this is the characteristic equation. Then when kc is 0, we only have the roots of s and s minus 0.4, so at plus 0.4, and then in my plot, this is the pole here of g actually, and this is the pole, the integrator. Then roots start in there, and root-locus somehow plots an animation in which, as gain is increased, some branches, the roots, get far away from the open loop poles, let's say. And for instance, in here, roots will start being unstable, non-oscillatory. Then they will be unstable but oscillatory. In here, they will be marginally unstable, oscillatory. Then we will have stable oscillatory roots, progressively more damped until they get real from this value of k onwards. So this is the kind of prediction that root-locus technique makes. That, as I said, has no theory but the roots of this as a function of kc in this particular case. So let us check in simulation whether this behavior we predicted, whether this behavior is in accordance with simulation or not. So I have a PID simulator app in which I load my model from workspace, and then ki was 0.7. I will fix 0.7 my integral action gain, and then let's see. If I put, for instance, 0.05, very small Kc gain, then I see that the response just increases exponentially with no oscillations. So we are in this part of the response. Slightly higher Kc, 0.35, achieves these unstable, exponentially increasing oscillations as predicted by this branch of the root-locus. 0.4 will be marginally stable, because that was the conclusion of our stability analysis in our previous video. So here we have oscillations that keep its amplitude constant, although that will be difficult in practice, let's say. And then if I increase my gain above 0.4, then I will have stable oscillatory behavior. I will be in this region of the root-locus diagram, and if I increase more, the roots will be more and more damped until I will not be able to see the oscillations. Instead of 0.6, 0.7, more damped, 0.8, 1, 1.2, 1.8, let's say, 2, let's say. Then, for instance, in this case, with Kc and Ki in these values, if I compute the roots of this polynomial, I still get complex roots, but if I set Kc to, let's say, 3, almost there, Kc equal 4, for instance, roots are already 2 real poles, 4. So the thing is that now the response is not oscillatory, but there are zeros apart from poles that are causing this overshoot, but this is not an overshoot from this kind of oscillation, but just for something like this, plus another exponential like this. So in this case, we are now in this region here and here of the root-locus. Then this figure and the little arrows we can manage to draw, and the boundary between stable, unstable, oscillatory, non-oscillatory, etc. can help us hinting the behavior of my closed loop as I change my controller gain. And as I said, in a second order system, this is not strictly necessary because I have a closed form formula for all this, but this may be extremely helpful in higher order systems. As a last observation, in here we have just moved Kc. What happens if we move Ki? Because this is the point minus Ki. So if I move the integral action, then of course behavior changes. And what I will do is an animation of the root-locus as integral action increases. So for instance, for very small integral action, I have this root-locus in which I have computed the value of the gain that starts the oscillations in the unstable side and the value of the gain Kc that ends the oscillations on the stable side. So more than 0.54 will be non-oscillatory. Then in here I will have poles very close to the origin, say here or something like that. Very slow behavior. And well, as I increase Ki, the root-locus has essentially the same shape, but the circle that root, which are oscillatory, make increases its diameter, so poles get further to the left, faster, transient, and then this is the root-locus that appears as Ki increases, and also the gain achieving these 2 real poles in the stable side, for instance, also increases. This is the animation of the root-locus as the integral action increases. The thing is that, well, apart from this circle getting bigger, which is the influence of that in the transient response, well, I will also do an animation of the step response and the disturbance rejection transient as the integral action changes. But the value of the proportional gain that I also must choose will be set to exactly this value, let's say the value that puts 2 poles in here. Why? Because this is somehow the fastest real poles I can achieve, in the sense that if my gain is lower than this value, I will have 2 oscillatory and slower poles, and if my gain is higher than this value, I will have 2 real poles, but one of them will be slower than this one. So this is somehow the most negative real path I can achieve with a given integral gain. So that will be the value of the proportional gain. Again, this value here is actually obtained just from solving that this thing inside the square root must be 0, no magic. And then if I simulate the step response for different values of integral gain, we start with extremely slow transients, but okay, things get faster as gain increases. The blue one is the set point tracking response, the red one is the disturbance rejection response. Still, this is somehow unacceptable, but as we increase integral action and proportional one, we are starting to get faster loops. This starts being acceptable, let's say, with this 0.3 integral, 1.9 proportional. We are having sort of 6-7 seconds settling time and 25% overshoot and this disturbance rejection, and increasing both proportional and integral gains. We get this family of non-oscillatory responses that are progressively faster and more stringent performance in disturbance rejection. Of course, higher gains will imply higher likelihood of saturation in practice and of high frequency noise amplification. So one thing is theory, like we are doing here, another thing is practical control. We need to take extra considerations in discussing where these specifications are realistic or not. But apart from those issues, well, we go on increasing the gains. Here we have progressively faster and better disturbance rejection until, you know, infinity and beyond. So this is the kind of behaviors that, to conclude, root-locus can help us understand in this second order system and the true realm of application in PID control design for higher order systems. So we end here. Thanks for watching.